Community mobilization in TI is not just a component, but it's an integral part of a response given the shift in paradigm. It is expected that community mobilization would lead to tapping the potential of the community and thereby promoting greater ownership.
Community inclusion, participation, and involvement in all the elements of targeted intervention is crucial. Site assessment is one of the earliest aspects of the intervention where the community is the torchbearer and helps validate the mapping data. In establishing drop-in center or basic clinical services, community is engaged in identifying the locations as well as involved in promoting the services. Community participates in planning, execution, and monitoring and builds a process by which the outreach is scaled up to attain coverage. Community-led advocacy for addressing structural barriers and crisis response are ways by which the community begins to take lead in creating an enabling environment. The process of community mobilization leads to advancement of community ownership over the project over a period of time. One of the ways of achieving this is through the formation of various committees. The examples of such committees are Clinic Management Committee, Outreach Management Committee, Drop-in Center Committee, Program Management Committee, and the Crisis Response Team. The committees not only promote greater involvement but also work towards greater ownership. This is a Program Management Committee meeting in progress.
Today, we are having the third Program Management Committee meeting for this quarter. We are going to discuss the issue of program expansion at the Taluk level, and therefore we will discuss the issue of staff requirement and the budget.
Yet another process that promotes greater ownership is peer progression. I am a sex worker and working in this project over the last 8 years. Our organization and peer educators decided that our position, power and authority within the project should grow. So, we evolved a system or peer progression. This is done through each of us evaluated on basis of our daily work as well as an end of the year examination. This gives us an opportunity to move from being a peer educator to different levels such as peer counselor, peer supervisor, program coordinator, program manager, and program director. The process of this realization is peer progression. A peer educator becomes a peer counselor, peer supervisor, program coordinator, program manager, and reaches the top as program director. This progression instills confidence in the community to bridge the gap between the community and the program. Identifying one's own self as a sex worker or MSM is an essential step in the advancement of community mobilization.
I am Radha Rani. I am a sex worker from Andhra Pradesh. Today, it is easy for me to say that I am a sex worker, but it took me a lot of effort to express it for the first time. I am not hesitant to say I am a sex worker, nor am I ashamed. Since I respect my work, it gives me self-respect. My stating that I am a sex worker openly has made it possible for many others to also express themselves. We have more to gain than lose because once we are able to come to terms with it, then there is no fear of being discovered. By many of us stating it and being open, it also brings us together because then we have a shared identity which helps in community mobilization.
From individual identity to group identity leads to a community identity. This step in mobilization gives them a sense of belonging and therefore promotes a collective power.
I am Pratima. I am a sex worker. I have been a loner and I did not think that I belonged to any fraternity. Once I started talking to other sex workers and we found that we all had common issues, I started relating to others as my own sisters. We were all one and the same. This feeling led me and others like me to feel that we are part of a community. We were all in the same environment to begin with, and were similar people but discovered our similarities only after coming together. After that, we were able to work towards helping each other as well as building our own community.
In the process of community development, the drop-in center plays an important role and gives a shared identity for the community. It is a safe space, a melting pot where community comes together to discuss problems and solutions. It also helps in community building as well as in defining a shared purpose amongst them. In the process of community mobilization, the community addressing their own members' problems and providing assistance in seeking solutions becomes important.
I looked for a house and got one after much difficulty. I paid an advance of Rs 20,000 and a rent of Rs 2,000. I was asked if I was a man or a woman when we had to sign the agreement. I lived in that house without an agreement but on trust. The owner harassed me. I wanted to vacate the house. He would not give me my advance. He beat me up. I informed the community and they came to my rescue. I got my money back then. This way, the community members found a solution to my problem and assisted me in finding a place that will be suitable for me to live.
In the build-up to gaining ownership, the community starts expressing its agenda and taking action. This process brings them to address their felt needs that are not addressed conventionally by the project. Issues around economic vulnerability could propel their aspiration to form a cooperative society. The support organization gives the know-how in setting up the cooperative.
It used to be a problem with sex workers before. We had to part with a lot of our earnings, and in times of need, we had to borrow with huge interest. It used to be terrible. With the cooperative system, we are able to deposit money every day, take loans anytime, and therefore don't have to worry about the savings. Once the economic problems were addressed, our membership grew, as well as we were able to refuse a client if he refused to use condom.
This group of sex workers realized that there were many community members who do not earn enough to spend on their daily food expenditure and need support. They discussed and decided to start a community kitchen where the members cook a low-cost lunch that is sold at a very nominal price. The project plays a facilitative role in fulfilling this aspiration. Like everybody else, sex workers and MSMs have aspirations that their children are in school, provided boarding when required, and are able to lead a quality life. The children of sex workers in one setting have formed a strong cultural troupe that is able to perform in the mainstream. So much so, it has contributed to the increase of self-esteem of the children of sex workers.
I am a son of a sex worker. Because we are children of sex worker, we don't get avenues to express our talent. Komal Gandhar is a platform for us to express our talent and thereby convey a strong message to the mainstream that we are no different.
In many situations, the community decides to take their issue to the public domain as any free citizens of our country. This is to highlight their needs and requirements, stand up in solidarity to some of the common issues, as well as to highlight their rights and entitlements. We will hear from an MSM group as to how the seeds of community mobilization and organizing were sown.
The primary stage was sexuality when it started, but gradually it was found that many of the people, when it moved also to gender, because I am more visible, because by gender was I am more visible, and it gained momentum when actually the gender issues came up open. People were facing harassment at a lot of places. People came up and talked about it.
This group of MSM approached the issues they faced not by addressing sexuality or sexual minority issues, but the issues of gender that the MSM faced in their day-to-day life. As the mobilization advances, community takes greater ownership over project agenda, thereby resulting in scaled-up, successful HIV prevention.
We used to have serious problems from gundas, money lenders and police. The demand came to address these and we started doing that. During that time, we realized that our aspiration as a community can be addressed only by us. In order to overcome this, we started our organization. Once we started overcoming each of this, more and more people started coming to the project. Today, there is evidence by which we can say that we run a successful HIV prevention program. We are able to contain the HIV epidemic.
It is important to understand how a collective response helps in HIV prevention. Community members will rally easily around issues which are of importance to them. Once they start coming together, they will rally around HIV prevention, able to sustain the prevention efforts. The process of developing CBOs will be addressed separately.
The project has to find innovative ways to have greater involvement of the community members and to build their capacity. This process sows the seeds for the community to take leadership in the overall response. In the last several episodes, we have seen the various critical aspects of targeted intervention under NACP 3. In TI, NACO places a high degree of emphasis on high-risk populations at the centrality of the response. We move from programs being implemented for the community to programs to be implemented with the community and by the community. The process and outcome are dependent upon the implementation. The TI operations guideline is expected to assist in implementation and to attain the goal.